Hello everyone, we're back with the Falcons franchise, and today we'll be getting through the offseason. It was a good overall year for us. We won 11 games into the NFC South. We even won a game in the postseason before losing to the Packers in the Divisional Round. They would go on to the Super Bowl, but would end up losing to the Raiders. For us, we'll head to the offseason with about $50 million in available cap space and a ton of draft picks to try and make this team better. Let's talk about our plan this offseason. On offense, we would like to get some competition for Jake Matthews at left tackle, but besides that, it's mostly just about adding general depth on the offense. On defense, I want to fix the interior defensive line. That was a huge problem last year, and I would also like to get some competition for Najee Johnson at free safety. But before we can do any of that, we need to start the offseason with some key retirements. Aaron Rodgers is done after losing in the Super Bowl. Trent Williams calls it quits after 14 years. The Eagles with a couple of retirements, including Cordell Patterson, and we had 4 retirements: Brent Urban, Cam Newton, Eric Tomlinson, and Brian Bulaga. One name that is surprisingly not on that list is wide receiver Julio Jones. I really thought he was going to retire, but he didn't. He did get hit with regression, and so did Odell Beckham Jr. Those are the only 2 players on our team to have regressed. Odell got hit with a -15 to his ratings, a pretty big hit considering he's under contract for a couple of more years. Hopefully he can keep on playing well for at least a while longer. Taking a quick look at mock draft 3, they have us taking cornerback Braylon Yates, who's not a bad player, but I'm not thinking about picking at 26. I'm more so focused on trading up in the first round to take a defensive tackle like Donnell Allen, who's projected to go inside the top 10. On to the re-signing period, we'll start with Levi Jones. The 99 speed receiver had a big year for us last season, and I think he could be a big part of the offense next year and beyond, so we'll offer him a 3-year extension for about $11 million. It may be a slight overpay, but he is going to accept and stick around. Julio Jones, I would like him back as a depth receiver, and it would be nice to give him a chance to retire as a Falcon, but I don't want to overpay him, and he's going to decline to test out free agency. Quintez Cephas, another receiver that would be nice to keep as depth, but only a 1-year offer for $2.5 million, and he's going to decline, so receiver is kind of a need now. Frank Looker, I don't exactly want to overpay him, but I would like to have him back as a depth linebacker, so a 3-year offer for $7.5 million, and he's going to decline. So a couple of players now declining us and testing out free agency. At running back, there are a couple of players that we will be offering. One is Jamal Williams. I don't want to give him anything long-term though, just a 1-year deal for $2 million, and he's going to decline. The other is Ramondre Stevenson. We'll offer him a $4 million deal over 2 years, and he's going to decline as well, so a bunch of players declining us, which means we're going to have some open roster spots to sign some free agents and draft some new players. Let's check out some combine results of some of my favorite players in this upcoming draft. We'll start with halfback Randy Hodges. I believe he's going to be the best running back in the entire draft class. He had a crazy good combine and 40-yard dash, has a great looking skill set, and like I said, I think he's going to be the best running back in this draft class. Isaiah Cohn, he's an undersized linebacker at only 21 years old who has elite speed running a 4.48, and his skill set is also elite with a bunch of A's on it. He's a player that we are absolutely going to draft. At defensive tackle, if we want to trade up and select somebody, it's likely to be Donnell Allen. He had a pretty good combine overall, and the skill set looks really good as well. He is projected now to go inside the top 10, so it may be pretty difficult to move up and get him. If we don't trade up and we still want to take a defensive tackle in the first round, we could draft Luke McDaniels. He looks like he's an alright player, but definitely not on Donnell Allen's level. My favorite tackle in this draft class is Dwayne Greer, who is 6'7", 309, 21 years old out of Arizona State. Not the best combine, but he's got a good skill set with A awareness, B pass block, and B run block, and I think he could be some good competition for Jake Matthews. I know we don't need a starting quarterback, but we do need a backup, and I think selecting Daniel Barden could be a great option for us. He's got good throw power, had a positive draft story, has A awareness, and good accuracies across the board. That's enough about the combine results though. Let's move on to free agency, where we have about $47 million in available cap space. At defensive tackle, there are a couple of good options for us: Grover Stewart and Dalvin Tomlinson, the 2 that have interest in us. At free safety, just 1 player with interest in us, it's Micah Hyde. At running back, a couple of players with interest: A.J. Dillon, Darrell Henderson, who had some good games against us with the Saints, but we are going to be going after A.J. Dillon. And you can see nobody else is going after him. Grover Stewart, we do have to outbid the Raiders. we are trying to bring back Frank Looker, and the last offer we have out there right now is for Micah Hyde. And we're going to end up getting A.J. Dillon, Grover Stewart, and Frank Looker to all accept in the first round of free agency. The deal for A.J. Dillon is 2 years with about $4 million per year. He's only 26 years old, is a huge running back at 6 foot 247, has star dev, and I think could be a great addition to our running back room. For Grover Stewart, it's just a 1-year deal, and this deal does not rule us out of trading up in the first round to take Donnell Allen. It's a great fallback option though, if we need somebody to start and we end up swinging and missing at defensive tackle in the draft. And the Frank Looker deal, it's just a deal to come back as a backup. Moving on to the next round of free agency, we have increased our offer for Micah Hyde, but are also going after Harrison Bryant and Julio Jones. We end up getting just Micah Hyde in this round of free agency though, on a 1-year deal at $12 million. It's only a 1-year deal because he is 33 years old, but he still has good ratings and can at least be a starter for a season at free safety. In mock draft 4, they have Donnell Allen going at pick 4 inside the top 5, which is not great news for us. Back to free agency, we have gotten Julio Jones and Harrison Bryant to both sign. The deal for Julio is 1 year, $3 million. He could be a potential depth receiver for us if he makes the team. Harrison Bryant, a 2-year deal at $4 million. He could be tight end 3 behind Cliff Durant and Kyle Pitts. Speaking of Kyle Pitts, it's time for us to go ahead and pick up his 5th-year option, a pretty easy decision to make. We have gone ahead and signed a couple of veterans to some cheap 1-year deals to end free agency. One of them is cornerback Emmanuel Mosley. The other is quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, who could potentially end up being our backup quarterback. What did the rest of the week do in free agency? Well, here's a look. Jalen Hurts is going to be staying in Carolina. Kirk Cousins is joining the Saints to be their starting quarterback. The Vikings sign a pair of quarterbacks in Gardner Minshew and Jameis Winston to battle for the starting spot. We are the only team to have signed a top running back. Apparently nobody else wanted one. The Bears have gone out and given Justin Fields a number 1 receiver in CeeDee Lamb. They do end up losing Darnell Mooney, however. Bryan Edwards is going to be joining the Ravens. The 49ers may have just lost Trent Williams to retirement, but they replace him with the top available free agent in Jedrick Wills. Nick Bosa is also going to be joining the Bears, so they're just throwing money at everybody. A bunch of linebackers switching teams. One of them that will not be switching teams is Shaq Thompson, and the Texans end up signing a pair of safeties to round out their free agency in their secondary. That's all for free agency though. It is time to move on and get ready for the draft. We have selected Daniel Barden, Donnell Allen, and L. Thomas for some private workouts. Starting with Daniel Barden, the update on him is a great one. We already knew about the A awareness, and now we know for sure that those accuracies are all going to be at a B, which is pretty good. Al Thomas, he had to skip the combine, and I wanted to be for sure that those injury concerns are legit, and they are. It's going to be a D injury rating for him. As for Donnell Allen, he is going to have top 5 talent in the entire draft, which makes me want to trade up for him even more. They are now projecting him to go just outside the top 10 to the Saints at pick 12, something that would be pretty disastrous for us. But before we get to the draft, we have some moves to make. We are going to be sending David Long Jr. and a 7th round pick to the Rams for a 4th round pick and a couple of players that we will end up cutting. It's a great move for David Long Jr. because he's going to go to the Rams and end up being a starter on a team that just made the postseason last year. We are also going to be sending Bo Melton and a 5th round pick to the Jets for a 4th round pick because the Jets are in need of a receiver. He's actually going to be their number 3 receiver behind Rondale Moore and Garrett Wilson. It's finally time for us though to go ahead and start the draft, where I'm sure we'll be making even more trades. The Dolphins are going to go with a quarterback at pick 1 in Aiden McDonald, maybe meaning Tua is done there. The Jets make it back-to-back quarterbacks, going with Mike Morrow out of Hawaii. The Texans are going to go with a linebacker, surprisingly. The 49ers go with Ricky Burgess, another quarterback, and that might mean Trey Lance is done there. And the Colts are going to round out the top 5 by going with a left tackle in Richard Baker. Surprisingly, the Bears also going quarterback in round 1, going with Ted Jackson. The Buccaneers go with Dakota Means, and that's going to put the Seahawks on the clock at pick 11, but not so fast. We're going to trade up, giving up pick 26, a future 2nd, and a 6th later in the draft to get up to pick 11, and the Seahawks will accept. Of course, we are trading up to select defensive tackle Donnell Allen, who is 6'6", 300 pounds, 21 years old, out of Texas, has a great skill set, good physicals, has top 5 talent, so let's go ahead and draft him, and he's got hidden dev, 95 strength, 75 speed. Hopefully he could be a big-time difference maker on the interior defensive line for us. The next pick is the Saints selecting Al Thomas, which means that likely Donnell Allen would have ended up going there had we not traded up. Joe Myers going to the Panthers, later in the first round, and now into the second round. It's going to be pick 4. We are up on the clock, but we are actually going to be trading back out of this spot, giving it to the Eagles. Still getting a second round pick, but getting a fourth round pick later in the draft. The Buccaneers end up selecting cornerback Braylon Yates a couple of picks before us. Dale Harper going the pick before us to the Seahawks. And we are now on the clock at pick 12 in the second round. And after thinking about it and looking around, I think we're going to take a chance on wide receiver Alonzo Hitchens. He was the consensus top receiver for a while, but has slipped down draft boards. I think he's worth taking a chance on in the second round, so we'll draft him. And he's got hidden dev, 91 speed, good change of direction, good jumping. Hopefully he could be an impact player early in his career for us. We're going to trade up in the second round again, give it up a third round pick and 2 fourths to the Chargers. And we're going to select right tackle Dwayne Greer, who is 6'7", 309, 21 years old, out of Arizona State. Not the best combine or pro day, but he's got A awareness, B pass block, B run block, and we need some competition for Jake Matthews, so we'll select him, and he's got hidden deb, only 79 strength. Hopefully the blocking ratings are good, and he could potentially start, maybe even over Jake Matthews. Now late in the second round, we are on the clock at pick 26. Actually, not for long though. We're going to be trading out of this one as well, sending it to the Raiders and getting a future third in next year's draft. Now at the end of the second round, we are back on the clock, and I've tried trading back, but there's just no offers for us. So we're just going to go ahead and select quarterback Daniel Barden now. He is projected to go in the third or fourth round, so taking him at the end of the second isn't bad if he ends up being good. We'll take a chance on him, and he's got hidden dev, 91 throw power, maybe a quarterback controversy in the future. I guess it depends on what his ratings are looking like. Another trade for us, we are sending Taquan Graham, a third and a fourth, to move up in the third round to go ahead and select outside linebacker Isaiah Cohn out of South Carolina, only 21 years old, has great physicals, elite speed, an amazing skill set. Let's just go ahead and draft him, and he's got normal dev. Of all the players I thought that would have hidden dev, I figured he would, but it's only normal dev. He's at least got great speed. We are making another trade with the Seahawks, giving up pick 98 and Zach Bond, who will be a starter in Seattle for pick 75, and they will accept. The player we have traded up to go ahead and pick is halfback Randy Hodges, who had a great combine and pro day across the board, has a lot of A's on his skill set, a couple of B's. He's worth taking a chance on in the third round. We'll draft him, and he's got hidden dev, another one for us, 92 speed, only 77 change of direction, and that's going to make our backfield pretty deep with him and A.J. Dillon and Rashad Penny. We are going to trade back in the fourth round with the Ravens, getting an extra 6th round pick in next year's draft, and with the 4th round pick we got from them, we'll send it to the Dolphins for a 5th round pick and a 7th in next year's draft. Now on the clock with the first pick in the 5th round, it's going to be our last pick of the draft. We'll use it on another wide receiver, this time in Trevante Wheaton. He is undersized, but has a good 20-yard shuttle, and maybe not the best downfield route runner with an F rating there. He has B awareness, A catching in traffic. I think he could be a decent slot receiver. He is only normal dev, but hopefully the ratings are good, and he could end up being a decent player like all of our draft class hopefully is. Let's check him out. Donnell Allen is a 79 overall with a +2 boost. He has 99 strength, good block shedding, does need to work on the pass rushing skills, has great speed of course at 75. I think he could be a day one starter for us if we want him to be. Alonzo Hitchens is a 73 overall. He is all right across the board, nothing really elite when it comes to the route running. I do think that he could be an impact player early in his career if he ends up seeing the field. Dwayne Greer, surprisingly, is a 72 overall. I thought he would be a bit more of a project. He does need to work on the run blocking, but the pass blocking skills are there. I think he could start if we really want him or need him to. Daniel Barden is a 68 overall. He's got good accuracy short, needs to work on the deep. The medium's okay. He does have a slight injury concern with his rating being just an 82. Isaiah Cohn is a 72, has great speed. The block shedding, not the best. He does have elite zone coverage for a rookie linebacker. I mean, the only thing really holding him back, I think, is the block shedding and the depth trait being just normal. Halfback Randy Hodges is a 74 overall, has good ratings across the board. The only question with him is he going to play a ton in his rookie season when we do have A.J. Dillon and Rashad Penny? And Trevonte Wheaton, the last pick we made, is a 73 overall, has good short route running. The deep is pretty bad though. So that's our draft class. How about the rest of the picks from this draft around the league? The Dolphins got a hidden dev quarterback at pick 1, the Jets a hidden dev quarterback at pick 2, and the 49ers a hidden dev quarterback, and so did the Bears a hidden dev quarterback, everybody getting one, including us. So a great quarterback draft overall, I guess. George Smith, who went at the end of the first round to the Cowboys, has hidden in dev and looks like he could be an absolute steal. Luke McDaniels, not the best. Denard Lawrence, a pretty solid late round pick at defensive tackle. Sam Gafford, only normal dev, but he's pretty decent. And Darrell Bradley, a late round pick by the Jets, he's going to be pretty good. How about our division? How did they do in the draft? Well, the Buccaneers drafted a hidden dev player in round 1 in Dakota Means, who's going to pair well with Vita Vea on that defensive line. Braylon Yates, only normal dev, but he's a pretty solid player, and Josh Jones is an okay underneath receiver. So an alright draft class for the Buccaneers. Not the best though. How about the Panthers? Joe Myers, their late first round pick, has 96 speed, only normal dev though. Leslie Flowers, a 73 overall, needs a lot of work, does have good speed. Luke Ware, a 72 overall guard, has some alright ratings, needs a lot of work on the run blocking, so maybe not the best draft class for the Panthers. And lastly, the Saints, who of course took Al Thomas with their first round pick. He is hidden dev, is a 75 overall, and a pretty good player, just not as good as Donnell Allen. Nick Harris, he's a hidden dev center that could start on day 1 for them, and they also got a hidden dev quarterback, who may be their quarterback of the future. He'll learn behind Kirk Cousins, who they brought in free agency. A good overall draft by the Saints, and by us I would say. But let's talk about all the battles we're going to have going on in the preseason. Who's going to be our backup quarterback? What do we do at running back? Our receiving core is pretty deep. Who do we start at left tackle? Jake Matthews or Dwayne Greer? On defense, not as many position battles, but we still don't know who we're starting at defensive tackle, who we're starting at right outside linebacker, and how much playing time should Najee Johnson get. Overall, I would say it was a pretty good offseason for us, but I want to hear your thoughts down below on what we did in the draft, in free agency, and in the offseason in general, and also what we should do in the preseason with all of those position battles. Thanks for watching this one, and I will see you next time.